In this video, I'm going to show you how to make your first app. Even if you're not a coder, even if you have no programming experience, I'm going to show you how to make an app without wasting a bunch of time or spending a bunch of money. So if you're like me, you've probably thought at some point, I've got a great idea for an app. But a lot of stuff tends to hold us back, right? We don't know how to code. We're not sure who to hire. It feels overwhelming. We wonder, is it going to be successful? Will this earn money or will it be a flop? Will anyone even care? In this video, I'm going to show you a method that will help you overcome all of those fears. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to know how to program in order to build a successful app. In fact, it can actually help you to not know how to do that stuff. Here's the bigger problem that most first-time app developers don't think about, which ends up hurting them over the long run, which is if we don't set the foundation for our idea correctly, then we'll waste a bunch of money and a bunch of time further on down the line because we'll have to make revisions. It's much easier to get the app idea correct up front without spending any money and without spending very much time. And if you don't believe me on the costs, look at howmuchtomakeanapp.com. On the low end, for very basic apps, it can cost roughly $10,000, and for more complex apps, $100,000 or even more. So you might be thinking, well, I've seen some cool sites like appypie.com where you can drag elements together and it's just drag and drop and you can make an app that way. Those sites are cool to play around with, but generally speaking, they're not going to create an app that's so worthwhile and compelling that other people will want to use it. You might also be thinking, I don't want to spend a bunch of money and I'm a smart person, I'm capable. I'll just build the app myself, even though I don't have any experience in coding. And unless you're a teenager, I would strongly suggest that you don't do that. And the reason I say that is because if you're young, you have plenty of time. You have a long runway to really develop these skills that can serve you for a long time in your life. But if you're like me in your 30s and you have bills to pay, you have a job, you have other things to worry about, I would strongly encourage you to not start a new skill set that takes years before you get very proficient. So leave it to the professionals. You don't go out and make your own sushi, do you? No, you go to restaurants where professionals handle it for you. And the same thing applies when you're trying to make an app that potentially millions of people could use. So how did I get to this point? Why am I the one making this video? Well, many years ago, I had an idea for an app based on my friend Ramit Sethi's best-selling book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It's a personal finance book, and in the book, he has these scripts that tell you what to say to credit card companies, your cell phone company, your cable bill, in order to get those bills reduced or fees waived. And I used the scripts and they worked really well. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have an app where we had these negotiation scripts? We went through several months of developing it and we released the app onto the App Store and it was called Negotiate It. Now, the app did okay when it first started out. And in fact, Ramit was able to get it some amazing press.
Now let's talk about the app, Negotiate It. What does it actually do?
Well, you know, I'm Indian, so I was born knowing how to negotiate. So I figured I would help everyone else learn how to negotiate. What it actually does is you can choose what I want to negotiate today. My credit card late fee, my bank late fee. Most of the time, they will actually refund your money.
Really?
Wow. The average savings with this app, we tested it, $147.
Wow. I didn't even know you could negotiate some of those things.
But the problem was nobody wanted it after that initial launch because no one was searching for Negotiate. We created an app that we thought was cool and we knew was valuable, but no one was searching for it. No one wanted it. There was no market for negotiation. So I completely understand the journey that you're on. I know how exciting it is to have an app idea. And the goal of this video is to give you a simple process that will ensure people really want your app. They're actively searching for something like it and they're going to download it and share it with their friends. 2, that you can communicate effectively with professionals so that your idea, your vision is executed perfectly. And 3, I'm going to show you how to find and hire the best professionals to make the job as simple as possible for you. So let's get into the game plan. So step 1 is really just to make sure your idea is something that people actually want. Thomas Edison, who's considered the most prolific inventor of all time, said, "I don't want to invent something that doesn't sell." Likewise, you don't want to create an app that doesn't sell, that people don't download. You want to make money from this. You want to turn it into a business so you can improve upon it or do it again and keep doing it, right? That's the whole point, is to make the game bigger and keep it going. So don't create something that people don't want. And the way that we do this is by studying what people are downloading. We study the top apps and the top charts. Now, the App Store has changed a little bit. You just open up the App Store, you open up apps, you scroll down, and then you get to top paid and top free. And you click see all. We'll start with top paid. And you have the top charts there. You have paid apps, free apps on this side. And then you just scroll through them and play around. Play around with the apps. I'm assuming that you're somebody who plays around with apps if you want to build an app. But check them out. See what works. And if you click all apps in the top right corner, you can see that you can open up the categories, right? So if I wanted to develop a finance app, if I wanted to take another stab at that, I go into finance and then I can see, oh, we've got debt payoff, we've got a crypto tracker bot, we've got all sorts of things. So you really want to get familiar with the market. You want to see which app ideas are successful, and you may even want to dig into and research why they're successful. What are they doing? Are they running advertising campaigns? This is why it makes sense to watch them for a few weeks, because some apps can climb up for a day or two and then crash. There's another great quote that says, "People will buy what you're selling when you start selling what people are buying." And that's the whole point of this part of the lesson, is that you don't want to invent anything that isn't already selling. Now, I know a lot of people are probably thinking, but I need an original idea, and it sounds like you're just telling me to copy whatever the market is doing. Yes and no. You don't need an original idea. And in fact, most ideas are not original. Most ideas have already been done, but they've been remixed in such a way that they're unique, or they're better, or they serve a smaller segment of the audience better, or they come in with a more interesting business model. And so what I'm telling you to do is to study the market, see what people are downloading, see what people love, and then think, how can I remix this proven idea and make it my own? And this is something I've seen work very well, including for a friend of mine named Chad Moretta. He is the author of App Empire. He's developed over 70 apps. He's made millions of dollars developing apps, and this was his entire strategy, was to study what was happening in the marketplace and remix an idea that was already proven. Now, during your research, you might come across some apps that are similar to your idea or even better. And it's tempting during those moments to feel deflated, to throw in the towel and say, gosh, I can't do it now because somebody's already doing it better. But I'd encourage you to look at that as a sign of hope, that you actually might have a great idea, especially if those apps are in the top charts. And once you're confident that you have an idea the market wants, make it unique. remix it in some way so that it's more difficult for other apps to compete with you. The next step in the process is my favorite part, which is storyboard your idea and make it into a working prototype. This is a method that's used by all the big movie studios in the world, such as Disney, Pixar. Before they ever start shooting the movie, they draw it out, they put it on the wall, they animate it just to make sure that the idea that they have in their head translates well to the screen.
I am a cute little bumblebee. I am a cute little bumblebee.
And the same thing needs to be done with your app. Instead of writing out your thoughts or trying to communicate to a programmer what the idea is in your head, you need to take the time to draw it out, storyboard it, and then turn it into a working prototype. So here's how to do this. It's fun and it's easy and it's cheap and it's fast. You just draw out every single screen on your app in note cards. So let's say I have an idea for a photo filter app that allows you to add mustaches.
Alex Trebek, Hitler. Oh, probably not Hitler.
So you can see this sort of like Instagram. I got the buttons below of the different types of mustaches we can add. And let's say theoretically, I would hit that button and it would turn the next screen into this guy who's got the mustache on him, and then I can add some photo filters. So you draw out every single screen of your app just like that, and then you're going to download an app called Prototyping on Paper. It's a free app, and you're gonna open it up, and one by one, you're going to take pictures of each of your note cards, right? And just for the sake of demonstration, I've only done these 2 note cards, but if you're designing a full app, you'll have dozens of these note cards that you'll have drawn out. So what you're gonna wanna do is string all of these screens together. So you tap Add Link and you drag the area over the button, you hit Link to Image, you click the next screen that you want that button to go to. If you want, you can add a transition and you click Done. And then you go back and you hit the green play button, and that is how you can preview the app. And you keep doing this. You build out the entire app using note cards, a pen and paper, in the Prototyping on Paper app. And once you have a working app, you're going to give it to friends of yours. You're going to give it to people who you believe are interested in using an app like that. And you're just gonna hand it to them and say, can you talk me through what you think this is? And you're just gonna watch. You're gonna watch their reaction and you're gonna listen to their explanation. And you're going to be amazed by this process, because what you're going to find is people are often confused by your app, or they get stuck, or they're not sure what it's about. And you don't want to explain that to them. You want them to figure it out for themselves, because that's what's going to be the reality when your app is on the store. You're gonna have thousands of people suddenly able to download it and access it. And if they don't understand it within a few seconds, if they don't grasp the benefits and why they should use it, they're not going to share it with their friends, they're not going to use it again, and you're not going to have a successful app. So you don't want to skip this part of the process. It's very valuable. And if you see the value in this idea alone of storyboarding your app, give a quick like to this video and subscribe, because I'm going to be doing other videos like this in the near future. So you might be thinking, what if somebody steals my idea? Aren't I just putting it right in front of them for them to go and make? The answer, generally speaking, is no. I know some entrepreneurs disagree with me on this, but I have found over and over and over that ideas, great ideas even, are a dime a dozen, but it's the execution that matters. And just this storyboarding concept alone, where you're doing your own research, you're building the app before you ever start coding, Most people are too lazy to even do this. So don't be afraid of your idea being stolen. It's so unlikely, and even if it does, you should be confident in knowing that you have other ideas that you can come up with, and that you should be practicing coming up with ideas and turning them into products. So to sum up, use the storyboarding process to make sure that your app idea is workable, that it's good, and get a few rounds of feedback from actual users and make sure that your app is intuitive, easy to understand, and it's something that they can immediately see the benefits of using themselves. So the final step of the process is to hire professionals to create your app. Now, I want to tell you a quick story about the importance of working with professionals. So a few years ago, I wrote a book called Play It Away. So I thought I had the vision of the cover in mind really well. I wanted it to have the vibe of Field of Dreams combined with Where the Wild Things Are, and I wanted to have a picture of businessmen playing catch. I set up a photo shoot with my friend. We took a bunch of pictures, and I brought those pictures back. I started photoshopping them on my computer and thinking, hey, I'm pretty good at design. I've got a good eye for this sort of thing. I know what a good cover looks like. And I spent probably 6 hours photoshopping this image and making it into a cover. And at the end of it, I thought I nailed it. I thought, oh, this cover is so great. And I sent it to a friend of mine who's a professional designer. And she's been doing it for 20 years. And I just asked her, what do you think of this? And she said, oh, that's nice. Send me the original photo and I'll touch it up. She came back with this, which is 10 times better than anything I could have made. And she did it in less than an hour. And the point of this is you need to bring in professionals who can do it more efficiently and cheaper and better than you can. And there's a great quote that says, if you think it's expensive working with a professional, try hiring an amateur. And in that story, I was the amateur. But it brings us to a bigger point, which is when we hire people, our temptation is often to try and find the best deal. We look in terms of price. We want to get a pro, a rock star, for entry-level pricing. And the reality is, if you want to work with professionals, you're probably going to end up paying premium rates. And that's a good thing, because it may cost you a lot up front, or so it seems, but it ends up saving you a ton down the line because they can get the job done on the first try rather than learning on the fly or making amateur mistakes. You don't want to deal with that stuff. So hire professionals, don't mess around. You'll end up saving more money and more time, and you'll get the app right on the first shot. Now, let's break down who you need to hire. So there are 2 people that you're going to need to hire. It's not just a programmer. Your first hire is actually going to be a UX designer. Now, I say UX designer instead of just designer because a UX designer, a user experience designer, is somebody who's familiar with how to build software, how people use things so that it's intuitive, it's compelling. You want to work with somebody who has some experience in UX. Because they will find improvements to your storyboard. They'll find ways to make it even more compelling and more enjoyable to use and simpler. Once they've developed every single screen and it's good to go, then you can hire a programmer who can tie it all together and make it work seamlessly. Now, the resource that I use to hire the best people is called TopTal. And what TopTal does is it curates the top 3% of freelancers, the best programmers, the best UX designers in the world, and it matchmakes you with the right people. You fill out the form, you get called by a project manager at TopTal, You describe your app, what you're building, and then they find the right candidate for you, so you don't have to go through the entire hiring process and vetting people. And whatever type of app you're developing, whether it's iOS or Android, or even something for the blockchain, they have developers who they can put you in touch with who can execute your project for you. Now, I know there are some people who are still worried about their idea being stolen by their developer. They're worried about being Zuckerberged.
But Zuckerberg decided to steal their ideas.
I get the paranoia as a first-time app developer. I do. You just have to understand they're getting paid good money to do this job on behalf of you, on behalf of other clients, including some corporate clients who are probably paying them very well. This is why I like to work with top TAL programmers and designers, because they have been vetted. TopTal did their due diligence and they only work with the best, most reputable. If you're trying to hire an overseas developer through a different site and those people haven't been vetted by the site, and maybe they live in a culture where stealing ideas is normal and acceptable, you're taking a risk, okay? So that is a valid concern, but if you go through TopTal, the likelihood of your idea being stolen is so low. Please don't let this fear of your idea being stolen prevent you from making it in the first place. Go ahead, make your idea, and have faith that you will also have other ideas in the future that will be worth executing. And in fact, you probably came up with some other ideas while you were doing the research process in step one. You probably saw other ideas. So don't worry about this, move forward. So to sum up this whole video, the 3-step process is very simple. Step 1, make sure your idea is something that people actually want. Research the top charts and make sure that your idea could fit in among those apps. That will increase your likelihood of your app being successful. 2, storyboard your idea and turn it into a working prototype. Draw out every screen on note cards, take pictures of your app using the prototyping on paper app, and then string all of those screens together and make it into a working prototype. You'll be able to quickly see if the app is compelling enough, if it's intuitive enough, if it has value. And if it doesn't, keep modifying it until it does. And step 3, hire professionals. Use TopTal to hire a UX designer and a programmer to execute the rest of your app for you and get it onto the market. So again, I made this video to help first-time app developers succeed. And if you follow these steps, you have a much greater likelihood of not only successfully completing your app, but making something that people want and will be profitable for you so that you can do it again and again. I listed off all the resources I mentioned in this video in the description below. Check out those links. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to this channel. I'll be coming out with more content like it, including this video about how to market your app. What do you do once your app is in the marketplace? If you have any comments or compliments for me, be sure to leave them in the comments section below. I'll probably make a future video answering those as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Charlie. Take care.